Welcome back. We did it, folks. We made it through books 1 through 3 of the Mortal Instruments, and you know what that means? We can finally go to book 4 and leave behind all of that stupid sibling stuff. What? What do you mean? No, like, they're not actually siblings, so there's no. Huh? Oh, you've got to be Welcome back, everyone. It's time to recap City of Fallen Angels, aka the fourth book in the infamous Mortal Instrument series. If you don't know what happens in books 1 through 3, go watch my recap video. It's actually pretty funny. I'm really proud of it. So I know that you guys voted for me to do the Dark Artifices, and then I went against your wishes and did the Mortal Instruments. And then you guys voted for me to do books 4 through 6 in one video, and I'm doing them in separate videos. My laptop can't handle a 6 hour long video, okay? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm just gonna get serious for 1 second. I know that's very hard for me to do. Today's Eid. It's a day of celebration, but I keep thinking about the people of Palestine who aren't able to celebrate because they're going through things that no living being should have to go through. So I decided that for me, the best way I could celebrate Eid was to donate the money that I make from this video to help the people of Palestine. I've been doing a lot of research trying to find the best place to donate, so if you guys have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. There's a lot of conflicting information out there right now about whether aid's even being allowed in Gaza, but the situation changes constantly, and I'm hoping that, if I donate now, that eventually that money will hopefully be able to be used. And of course, continuing to talk about what's happening, pressuring our government officials and the like can also help. So I know I'm not usually a serious person, and this isn't a serious channel, and it will continue to be an unserious channel where we joke around about books. But I am very thankful that having this YouTube channel gives me the opportunity to do things like this. So, thank you to all my viewers and subscribers for your support. Even if you guys lose a couple brain cells watching this video, at least it will be for a good cause. And I hope it doesn't seem unsensitive that I'm doing this serious fundraiser on such an unserious video, but like all of my videos are unserious, so it's kind of like pick your poison. Anyways, back to the video. Book 4, City of Fallen Angels. Ah, City of Fallen Angels. Everyone hates you. And I also don't like you like that. I'm sorry. I think we should just be friends. Don't get me wrong, City of Fallen Angels has a lot of scenes that I love. A lot of cute moments between characters, lots of great vibes, but those kind of work better as single scenes to act as breaks between the main plot. So when the main plot isn't really good, then these scenes aren't enough to make up for how boring this book can get. Especially at the end, I feel like it just drags out a little bit. Yeah, this book is more of a bridge book, honestly, just setting us up for the new villain and the conflict in the next two books. It's only 424 pages, which is honestly on the shorter side for a Shadowhunters book. And some of y'all are probably like, no, that's a long book, which you're kind of right. I thought it was shorter. I don't know why. It just looks so thin on my bookshelf compared to the behemoth that is The Last Hours. But also the font size is huge. I looked it up. It has the lowest word count out of any of the main Shadowhunter books, so. And despite that fact, I will be wasting way too much time talking about this book. Because character moments, guys, character moments. But I do feel like it could have been a novella, but Cassandra kind of stretched it out to a full book because she was making a whole new trilogy. We needed a full 3 books. And also, she was turning out these books really fast. City of Fallen Angels came out on April 5th, 2011, and Clockwork Prince came out December of 2011. I genuinely don't know how that woman wrote these books so fast. Like, she had to be writing them at the same time, but that is actually insane. On a side note, love Clockwork Prince so much. It is one of my favorite books of all time. Although some readers say that nothing happens in Clockwork Prince except everything happens. The same can't be said about this book. But something I do like about this book is that we get Clary and Simon as co-main characters. You can see they're both on the cover. So we will get a lot more Simon, which I love because he's my favorite. So without further ado, time for City of Fallen Angels. So we open with Simon going on a coffee date with Izzy because he pulled 2 baddies and is somehow dating Izzy and Maya at the same time, which Clary finds hilarious. She's like, I can't believe you managed to pull either of them, and you are so this is great, which is how a true friend would respond. In Simon's slight defense, both just kind of started asking him to hang out, and then it wasn't until Maya kissed him after one of their Let's Play Xbox hangouts that he realized that she's been considering their Let's Play Xbox hangouts as dates. Same with Izzy. He's honestly not even too sure now about what's going on between him and Izzy, and now he feels like it's too late to bring it up to either of them. He's like, I didn't think we were dating, let alone exclusively dating, but now I feel like it's too late to ask them because then if we are supposed to be dating, then I fucked up, which is literally the worst way to handle the situation. I get how he got here, but after Maya kissed him, he should have asked Izzy about what's going on between them. Two-timing Izzy and Maya is like the one bad thing he does. But also it's realistic for a teenage boy because teenage boys are stupid as fuck. Adult men too, to be honest. And I guess when you look at the flaws and crimes of the other characters, this doesn't seem that bad in comparison. His main crime is being a procrastinator with a fear of confrontation, so like, I'd be a hypocrite if I judged him for that. But also I love Izzy and Maya, so like, fuck Simon for now. So yeah, he's on a maybe date with Izzy, and there's these two creepy guys watching them from a distance. They kind of look like humans, but Izzy explains that they're human subjugates, which were first introduced in Clockwork Angel. Okay, so quick lore lesson. It's legal for vampires to drink blood from humans in this universe because their magical saliva heals the human and increases their red blood cell count for a bit to replace the blood, and the humans don't really remember getting bit. But sometimes vampires are lazy and want easy access, so they keep some humans as, quote, walking snack machines. So yeah, they just have a human pet that they drink blood from for funsies. And they feed the subjugate some of their own blood to keep them docile and obedient and obsessed with their master. They're exclusive with said human. See, Simon? Even the vampires with subjugates understand the concept of exclusivity. So these two subjugates come over and introduce themselves as Mr. Walker and Mr. Archer, which, if you remember from the Infernal Devices, oh my god, I'm so excited I get to yap about the Infernal Devices again. Then you may recognize these names, because they are actually Camille Belcourt's subjugates. They're still alive because being a subjugate stops you from aging, so it's the same ones. They're purposely vague to make it seem like Raphael is their master and that he's trying to meet with Simon, but obviously we know it's Camille. Simon decides to meet with their master though, because hey, he's got the mark of Cain, what's the worst that could happen? Also, Izzy tells them to fuck off by saying, hey, leave my boyfriend alone. And Simon's like, boyfriend? And then he thinks how weird his life has gotten in the past year, that a hot girl calling him her boyfriend is the thing that shocked him, and not that he's just been summoned by the most powerful vampire in the city. So he goes, promising to call Izzy when he's done so that he can spill the tea to her, and sees Camille instead of Raphael. And she's a manipulative bitch like always, but Simon does sass her, and I love it. He's always sassing the most powerful beings alive, like honestly, it's great. So Camille says that she was the leader of the Manhattan Vampire Clan, and that Raphael was her second in command. But then he was murdering innocent humans, and when she found out, he lied and said that it was her who was murdering the humans, and the clan believed him, so she had to flee for safety. And then Raphael took over in the meantime, because he's a meanie and a liar. And she's like, I know you have that mark, Simon. If you join me, I'll help you live a normal life and hide your vampirism from your family. She's supposed to have like a vaguely French accent, but I can't do those, so. And she's able to drink wine. She can say the word God, which vampires can't usually do, so it's pretty impressive. Simon says he'll think about it, and she gives him 5 days. She also says not to tell anyone. Simon's like, sure. Totally. So Simon goes home, and I just want to sum up what Simon's life has looked like for the past few months. Because everything we know about being a vampire in this universe sounds absolutely miserable. And also because Simon's a vampire, that's why I'm wearing my Twilight shirt, and I got my like vampire makeup and stuff. But yeah, so even as a vampire, blood is disgusting to drink and still tastes like blood. But the hunger is way worse. It makes it difficult to even be near humans without being hyper aware of the blood in them. And Simon has to drink gross cold animal blood from bottles that he keeps in a mini fridge he hid in his room. And Simon was actually a vegetarian for years and years before this, so obviously he doesn't have that option anymore. And Simon's mom was under magic to prevent her from realizing that Simon was gone for the events of City of Glass, but she's still subconsciously suspicious of him and like worried for him, and she started drinking. And normally she's super chill and lets Simon stay out whenever he wants, so it's a big change. And Simon feels really guilty about putting his mom through that and stressed out about Camille, so he calls Clary. And that's the end of chapter 1. That was all one chapter. I better pick up the pace if I want to be able to fit 3 whole books in this video. Alright, so chapter 2, Clary talks on the phone with Simon. She's like, dude, you gotta tell Izzy and Maya about each other before the wedding, because Luke and Jocelyn are getting married in a couple weeks. And both Izzy and Maya are obviously going to want to be taking Simon as a +1. Clary's currently in the New York Institute training room, training with Jace, because ever since City of Glass, she's dropped out of high school and has been training to be a shadow hunter. It was a big argument with Jocelyn. Her mom, understandably, doesn't like the shadow hunters or the idea of Clary being one. I mean, if my daughter was Clary, I'd also be a little worried, to be honest. And also, if I was married to the Valentine and part of the circle, I'd also want my daughter to have nothing to do with Shadowhunters. But she's like pretty strict with her, or at least the book tries to convince us that she's really strict with her. I guess for a white mom, she's kind of strict. But like growing up in a brown household, I'm like, Jocelyn lets her have a boyfriend. Jocelyn lets her leave the house with friends. That's not strict. Jocelyn also doesn't like Jace and thinks that he's too similar to Valentine. It's kind of funny because she clearly prefers Simon. Regardless though, Jocelyn. And the Clave. Naturally. Okay, back to training. Izzy shows up and says that her date went well with Simon and that Simon's very sweet. And Clary just feels so guilty for not telling her about Maya, but like, Clary's loyalty is to Simon. She's known him for way longer, so. And then Izzy finds out that Simon called Clary first instead of her like he said he would. And she's like, I mean, yeah, Simon's sweet, but maybe he's too sweet. That can be boring. Clary's like, so are you guys exclusively dating or? And Izzy's like, of course not, and leaves. No, Izzy, he likes you too. but he's also two-timing you. So yeah, Izzy. So Jace walks Clary out the Institute so that they don't get murdered by Jocelyn for staying out too late. And the Lightwoods are still mourning the death of Max. It's kind of empty and lonely in the Institute right now. Robert's and Idris helping set up the new council, and it seems like his marriage with Maris hasn't been doing so well since they lost Max. Alec's not here either because he's on a romantic vacation with Magnus. And if you want to read about said vacation, where nothing bad happens at all and there are no cults or demons involved, you can read The Red Squirrels of Magic. I think it's so sweet that like Alec's able to be open about his relationship with Magnus now. Like, good for him. Good for him. Jace, though, on the other hand, has been acting kind of weird and distant, and Clary doesn't know why. Like, things are going well now. They're allowed to date because they're not siblings, even though it's still weird to start publicly dating immediately after finding out that you're not siblings. So why is he acting so tense and stressed? Who knows? The next day, Simon has band practice, and then this hot guy shows up and he's like, "Hey, my name's Kyle. I saw from this flyer that you were looking for a lead singer." And he's like really hot and good at singing. So Clary says that they should let him join because their band desperately needs some sex appeal. And Simon's like, "On behalf of all three of us, thanks." After practice, Simon's walking home, but then he gets attacked by these dudes in gray tracksuits. The one goes to stab him, but then ends up getting stabbed himself 7 times, and then he explodes into pillars of salt. So we know the Mark of Cain works at least. Simon rushes home, but it turns out that his mom found his bottles of blood, and she's like, "What's going on, Simon? You go out all night, you never eat, you don't sleep, you have new friends I've never met. I thought maybe you were on drugs, so I looked in your room. But this? Blood? Are you in some kind of cult?" And he's like, "No, I'm a vampire." And he just thinks back to the speeches in that How to Come Out to Your Parents pamphlet from City of Ashes. And it was a funny joke to him back then, but it isn't so funny now. He's like, "I'm still the same person, Mom. I'm still me." But she thinks that he has some sort of mental illness that's making him believe that he truly is a vampire. She's like, "It's fine. We'll take you to doctors. We'll get you help." So he tells her to check his pulse, and she doesn't feel it. And she screams and she's like, "You're not my son. What have you done with my son?" And starts praying for him to be banished and go away. And he can feel it working because religion affects vampires. And something that Cassandra Clare said that I find interesting is how most media with vampires will use Christian symbols like crosses and holy water. And so she thought it would be different to have a vampire who's Jewish. And she is Jewish herself, so it's also like representation and stuff. Just a fun little tidbit. So Simon's like, "No, no, Mom, it's okay. You don't need to be upset. It's okay. This is all just a dream." And his voice is slightly different, and he didn't mean to, but he somehow used this vampire persuasion kind of power. So he convinced his mom it was just a fucked up dream and that he's going to be away on a school field trip for a few days, but it's totally normal. And he leaves. Poor guy is having literally the worst night ever. Then Jace's point of view. He's been reading those letters from Stephen Herondale that Admatus gave him at the end of City of Glass, and he's not really vibing with his biological father. Because, like, his dad didn't like the direction the circle was going in, but he didn't bother to leave or stand up to anyone. Jace is like, "Valentine may have been crazy, but at least he had principles." And then he's like, "Wow, I can't believe I actually prefer Valentine to my own dad. What kind of person does that make me?" Then there's a knock on the door, and Clary's there, which is wild because it's late at night and she has a strict curfew now. She's like, "I snuck out." He's like, "You should go back home. You're gonna get in trouble." She's like, "Fine. But since I came all this way, at least give me a kiss goodbye." So they start making out and it gets a little steamy. And then he pulls out a knife and he stabs her. And then he thinks, "Dear God, not again," and wakes up. Yeah, that was a dream. For the past few weeks, Jace has been having this recurring nightmare where he and Clary make out and then he kills her. Other 17-year-old boys have dreams where it ends in them reaching for a condom. Jace has dreams where it ends in him reaching for a knife. Either way, make sure you use proper protection, kids. And then he repeats this mantra that he always says after one of these nightmares. And I do like the way Cassandra Clare wrote this little scene, so I will read it. It is a little cheesy and edgelordy, but I was in my attempted emo phase in middle school, so you know I ate this shit up. His mind spun frantically as he said the words to himself over and over. It had become a sort of chant for him, and like any chant, the words had started to lose their individual meanings. "I'm not like Valentine. I don't want to be like him. I won't be like him. I won't." He saw Sebastian, Jonathan really, his sort of brother, grinning at him through a tangle of silver white hair, his black eyes shining with merciless glee. And he saw his own knife go into Jonathan and pull free, and Jonathan's body tumbling down toward the river below, his blood mixing with the weeds and grass at the riverbank's edge. "I'm not like Valentine." He had not been sorry to kill Jonathan. Given the chance, he would do it again. "I don't want to be like him." Surely it wasn't normal to kill someone, to kill your own adoptive brother and feel nothing about it at all. "I won't be like him." But his father had taught him that to kill without mercy was a virtue. And maybe you can never forget what your parents taught you, no matter how badly you wanted to. I won't be like him. Maybe people can never really change. I won't. Kinda ate. Okay, listen. Again, it's going back to the theme of nature versus nurture, okay? He's worried that these dreams mean that he's going to turn out like the man that raised him, despite his angel blood and despite his years with the Lightwoods. Valentine taught him that to love is to destroy, and he's worried that being with Clary is ultimately only going to hurt her. And he thinks that these dreams are like a manifestation of that. And I love the way that Cassandra Clare wrote it, with it cutting back and forth between this mantra that he tries to repeat over and over to convince himself that it's going to be okay, with his actual thoughts and fears that he's already like Valentine and that it's too late. What he wants to believe versus what he fears is true. Like, I don't know. It's kind of good. I mean, these books suck. These books suck. Yeah, they suck. I love doing surface level analysis on the most unserious book ever. So Simon meets with Raphael because he's the only one who could help him with his mom. Raphael says that Simon used some magic persuasion power that vampires can use on humans and that you can't reverse it. And he's like, I really don't care what happened with your mom. Some female in your life has rejected you. It'll not be the last time. Why are you bothering me? Say what you will about Rafael Santiago, but that guy is funny. Simon asks if he can stay at the Hotel de Mort because he doesn't have anywhere else to go. And Raphael's like, maybe I would, if you agreed to actually start acting like one of us instead of continuing to act like a human. Simon's like, I've had other offers, you know. And Raphael's like, what kind of offers? And Simon promised not to mention Camille, so he's like, just offers. And Raphael's done with him and leaves. Cut to Clary and Jason Central Park. They're going to train a little bit, but Jace is taking a quick nap first. And then all of a sudden, he seems restless, like he's having a nightmare. And then he wakes up and sees Clary and like desperately kisses her. And it's a little cringe. She's like, hey, if you're tired, we could go back to the Institute and take a nap together. And he's like, no, because I have to make sure we actually train. If we spend all our time making out instead, then they won't let me train you anymore. Clary's like, aren't they supposed to be hiring someone else to train me full time anyway? And Jace is like, yeah. And I'm worried that if you get into the habit of making out with your instructors, you'll end up making out with them too. Clary's like, I'm reading from the book. You're just worried they'll hire a male instructor and he'll be hotter than you. Jace's eyebrows went up. Hotter than me? It could happen, Clary said. You know, theoretically. Theoretically, the planet could suddenly crack in half, leaving me on one side and you on the other side, forever and tragically parted. But I'm not worried about that either. Some things, Jace said with his customary crooked smile, are just too unlikely to dwell upon. Fuck you, Jace Lightwood, but you know what? Confidence is key. Anyway, they train a little, and then the Sealy Queen shows up and says that a dead Shadowhunter was found in Central Park, aka the Fairies' domain. So Jace goes to call Mayrus to tell her. Then while they're waiting, the Queen and Clary chat, and Clary's like, I heard Meliorn's the fairy representative, just like you wanted. And the Queen's like, I bet you're regretting not taking my favor, huh? And Clary's like, you can't expect everyone to do what you want, you know. And the Queen's like, you know what? And just starts preying on Clary's insecurities, talking about how Jace is so out of her league and that he probably doesn't even love her that much because he could do so much better, and makes poor 16-year-old Clary cry. She was already feeling insecure because Jace has been acting weird around her, and now the Queen's getting all up in their business because Clary was like a little sassy to her. Not cool, Sealy Queen. Not cool. Later, Simon tells Clary what happened with his mom, and she's like, you could stay with us at Luke's. But Simon kind of doesn't want to. And he only has a couple bottles of blood left, and only a few days before his mom starts to wonder where he is. And he's literally just been hiding in his bandmate's garage where they do their band practice. And then Kyle, the new hot band member, shows up because he forgot his keys there. And he's like, what are you doing here, dude? Simon just says that he got kicked out of his house. And Kyle offers to let him stay in his apartment because he's got an extra bedroom since his roommate just moved out. Simon's like, I mean, if he ends up being a serial killer, I have the mark of Cain. So he's like, yeah, thanks, dude. So they go to his apartment. It seems pretty normal, and Kyle just wants Simon to pitch in for grocery money, and that's it. So it seems pretty chill. They chat a little bit, and Simon explains about what happened with Maya and Izzy. And then Kyle goes for his job as a bike messenger. He's 18 years old. He dropped out of high school his senior year and got his GED because he seemed to have like some problems at home, so he left. Next scene, Clary's having a dress fitting for the wedding, so Simon goes to show his support. And Maya goes too, since it's been a while since she's seen Simon, and also she's a part of Luke's pack, so she's also got to get a dress for the wedding. Although she'd prefer to wear jeans. Maya's more tomboyish. She's very chill, very down to earth. While Izzy is super high energy and always in fancy girly outfits. Simon's really just playing Catherine right now. Like the game Catherine. I hope someone knows what I'm talking about. I fear that you guys never get my JRPG jokes. It's my fault for having the most random combination of interests and hobbies. Jay shows up to the dress shop then, asks if Clary has his jacket that she borrowed, and she's like, yeah, it's right there. Also, we're about to get something to eat after this if you want to stick around. And he's like, no, I'm good, bye. Clary's understandably a little upset. After dinner, Simon goes back to Kyle's apartment, but on the way, he's once again attacked by muggers wearing gray tracksuits, just like the other guys who attacked him. One is about to shoot him, but then suddenly Jace jumps down out of nowhere and stops him. But the second guy does shoot Simon, which causes him to explode from the mark of Cain. And then the first guy manages to escape. Jace explains that those guys have been following Simon since he got off the subway, which means that Jace was also following Simon this whole time. Because he's in love with him. They're in love. Meanwhile, instead of going home, Clary went to the Institute to see Jace, but he's not there. Because he's cheating on her with Simon. And she runs into Luke, who was there to meet Maris, because someone's been murdering former Circle members and leaving their bodies in different Downworlder domains. And it seems like a poor attempt at trying to set the Downworlders and Shadowhunters against each other. They have no idea who's doing it, and they're like, if only the dead could talk. And Clary's like, wait a minute. What if they could? Because she can make runes. So they go to the Silent City to see the bodies, and they meet Brother Zachariah! Brother Zachariah! But he's not, like, important or anything. So they go to the one dead guy's corpse, and Clary puts this new rune on him that makes him able to speak, and it's, like, really horrific. The skin on his throat where it was cut when he died, like, flap as he tries to talk, and he's like, the pain, make it stop. And it's kind of sad, honestly. And Maris is just like very aggressive with it. She's like, who did this to you? And he does mention a name. He says Camille, but he's also just like obviously in so much pain. And because it's so violent, Luke just pours some acid onto the rune, which inactivates it. And then the guy is able to rest in peace again. And Clary and Luke are like, yeah, we're not ever going to use that rune ever again. Just because a rune exists doesn't mean you should use it. Also remember the detail about how marring a rune enough on someone's skin can inactivate it. It's kind of important. Meanwhile, Simon takes Jace back to Kyle's apartment, and their conversations are just like the funniest thing ever. They are such a comedic duo. Jace is clearly unwell and his hands are shaking, and Simon's like, hey, you don't look so good. And Jace goes, this coming from the guy who has all the sex appeal of a penguin. Don't insult penguins like that. I love penguins. You, Jace. And Simon's like, I'm not insulting you. You look sick. When was the last time you've eaten something? Jace is like, yesterday, maybe? So Simon takes him to a corner store to get some food. And I wish I could just read this entire scene because they're so good together. They're just so funny. Simon's like, so were you following me because you're like in love with me or something? But Jay says that he was actually following Clary, but then she got into a cab so he couldn't follow and pivoted to following Simon instead because he was bored and needed something to do. Simon's like, here's a pro tip. Most girls don't like getting stalked. I don't suppose you want to tell me why you've been acting so weird and ignoring Clary? And Jace is like, no, I don't. Simon goes, I'm reading from the book. Look, do you know what you want to eat, or do you just want me to keep pushing this cart up and down aisles because it amuses you? That, said Jace. And I'm not really familiar with what they saw in mundane grocery stores. Mavis usually cooks or we order in food. He shrugged and picked up a piece of fruit at random. What's this? That's a mango. Simon stared at Jace. Sometimes it really was like Shadowhunters were from an alien planet. I don't think I've ever seen one of those that wasn't already cut up. I like mangoes. Simon grabbed the mango and tossed it in the cart. Great. What else do you like? Jace pondered for a moment. Tomato soup, he said finally. Tomato soup? You want tomato soup and a mango for dinner? Jace shrugged. I don't really care about food. Fine, whatever, stay here. Oh, Jace. Shadowhunters, Simon seethed quietly to himself as he rounded the corner of an aisle lined with soup cans. They were a sort of bizarre amalgam of millionaires, people who never had to consider the petty parts of life, like how to shop for food or use MetroCard machines in the subway, and soldiers with their rigid self-discipline and constant training. Maybe it was easier for them going through life with blinders on, he thought, as he grabbed a soup can off the shelf. Maybe it helped you keep your focus on the big picture, which, when your job was basically keeping the world safe from evil, was a pretty big picture indeed. He was feeling nearly sympathetic toward Jace as he neared the aisle where he had left him, then paused, and these girls are just like hitting on Jace, and one asks if she can touch his mango. And then gives him her number. Simon's like, are girls always hitting on you? And Jace is like, yeah, except for when I'm glamored. And Simon's like, yeah, because then they can't see you because you're invisible. You're a public menace. You shouldn't be allowed out on your own. Which is true. They go back and try to figure out who might be trying to kill Simon. Simon does tell Jace about Camille, but they both agree it's probably not her or Raphael because they both know about the Mark of Cain, so obviously they know you can't kill Simon. Jace is like, Simon, when's the last time you've eaten? Because Simon also doesn't look so good, and he's basically been hungry this entire book. You can see he's like not doing too well. Simon's like, okay, fine. And he grabs his last bottle of blood and is like, look, I'm drinking now. And Jace is like, you can't just skip feeding. Blood isn't like food to you. Blood is blood. And Simon just goes, illuminating. I love that they both take turns playing the idiot and the straight man. Well, neither of them are straight men in my fanfictions. Then Kyle gets home from work and Jace is like, so Simon, when were you going to tell me that your new roommate's a werewolf? Dun, dun, dun. So we find out that Kyle is a werewolf, and that he's part of the Praetor Lupus, aka the Wolf Guard, which is a group of werewolves that dedicate themselves to helping new werewolves and vampires with the transition from human to downworlder. Because those first couple of years of being a new werewolf can be rough, and you don't know how to take care of yourself and get waves of anger and aggression that you can't control. And so they help you to find a pack and control your new powers and werewolf transformations and all that. And obviously, it's hard being a new vampire, so they help you get blood and find a clan, all of that. So Kyle was assigned to work with Simon since he's been having some trouble with the vampire adjustment. Simon's like, is that why you wanted to join my shitty band? And Kyle's like, I didn't know you were aware it was shitty. But yeah, so it was to keep an eye on him. Like, this was all a setup. And then the, oh, my roommate moved out. Like, he didn't have a roommate. Kyle's kind of vague about his past, but he does say that he's done some bad things when he first became a werewolf and that he's trying to be better and that he doesn't know what would have happened to him if he didn't join the Praetor Lupus. And for those who think that the Praetor sounds familiar, yes, that is the group that Wolsey Scott founded in the Infernal Devices. Simon's like, so basically your job's to follow me around and stuff? And Kyle's like, pretty much. And Jace, who is completely straight, mind you, is like, that's not necessary. Pretend that this penguin's Simon. He's like, that's not necessary. I can keep a perfectly good eye on Simon, thank you very much. He's my neophyte downworlder to mock and boss around, not yours. Jealous, Herondale? Hey, you two should kiss. And Jace decides to stay the night to keep an eye on Simon. To keep him safe, you know? And there's only one bed, but they don't share it because they're cowards. Back to Clary's point of view, earlier she and Jocelyn saw on the TV a news story about a baby that was found in a dumpster with a note saying that it was a monster. And it reminded Jocelyn of Sebastian and like really freaked her out. So she managed to find the hospital that the baby was taken to. And she knows this warlock, Katarina Loss, love her, who works as a nurse at that hospital. So Katarina lets her see the baby, and Clary managed to convince Jocelyn to let her come too. So they decide to tell the Silent Brothers because they think someone's trying to replicate Valentine's experiments. Meanwhile, Simon and Luke meet and discuss Camille. Luke mentions that the dead guy said Camille killed him, and Simon mentions how Camille wants him to work with her and is expecting an answer the next day. Simon kind of didn't want to straight up tell her no because he knew she was powerful and that saying no was probably a bad idea, but also he doesn't really want to work with her, and he promised not to tell anyone about her, but he's like, this is a life or death situation. So Luke's like, okay, let's work with the Cleave, and the next time you meet with her, we'll set a trap. So that's the plan for the Camille storyline. I know what you're thinking. Storyline? What storyline? Literally nothing's happened. And you're right. Yeah, this is a vibes-based book. Clockwork Prince was a vibes-based book that had not much of the main plot line, but it had so much in terms of romance and character development, you know, especially with Will and trying to unsolve the mystery of what's going on with him. It was still entertaining and fast paced because every scene was like something that I wanted to read about. Versus with this book, it's like I appreciate the humor and I love the character moments between Jace and Kyle and Simon, but there's not enough substance there to make this entertaining. It's just a little uninspired. So I feel bad because I feel like this video isn't very entertaining so far. There's not really a lot to joke about, honestly. And despite that, I still am spending way too much time on this book. This is how far we are. That's it. So Simon gets back to the apartment and Jace is just watching Kyle play video games as if they're best friends now. Like they don't even register that Simon arrived. Jace is like, that guy over there in the corner is totally looking the other way. A spinning wheel kick would put him out of commission. And Kyle's like, I can't kick people in this game. I can only shoot them. See? And Jace is like, that's stupid. And so then they start discussing how these guys in juicy tracksuits are all trying to kill Simon. And they think it might be a good idea to set a trap to try to catch the guys who are going after Simon. And Jace and Kyle just keep agreeing with each other's ideas. And Simon's like, when did you two get so buddy-buddy? Last night it was all, I'm the most elite warrior. No, I'm the most elite warrior. And today you're playing Halo and giving each other props for good ideas? And Jace goes, we realized we had something in common. You annoy us both. Not gonna lie, they're kind of bros. Even though nothing happens in this book, it's so hard to cut down the scenes because the dialogue is the entertaining part of this book, you know? Especially the dialogue between these three guys. Honestly, the plotline with Clary is like the most boring part. Like Clary's like not even like a character in this, I swear. So Simon's band is supposed to have a gig at a bar the next day. So they figure the tracksuit guys will probably try to attack Simon on his way home that night. So the plan is get Simon alone outside after the gig, and then Jason Kyle will hide in secret. So then that way when the guys attack, then Jason Kyle will jump out and catch them. Simple plan. And then Jason and Simon are talking and Simon's like, "Your dark circles are terrible. When was the last time you've slept through the night?" And Jason's like, 2, maybe 3 weeks. But also, what about you? You look terrible. You need to drink some blood. But Simon fails to mention that he's all out of blood and he's very, very hungry. That will be relevant. But also not the way that Jason and Simon are both like worried for each other's health. Like, okay, boyfriends. Jace didn't bring any change of clothes with him, so Kyle lets him borrow one of his black t-shirts. So at the gig, Jason and Kyle are matching, wearing jeans and black t-shirts. And Simon's like, "Wow, you're wearing each other's clothes now. That's like best friend stuff." Jealous, Lewis? And Kyle's like, "Feeling left out? I suppose you want to borrow a shirt too." And Simon goes, "As long as everyone's wearing their own pants." Listen, the Kyle, Jason, Simon trio are like low key underrated. Like, I'd totally watch a fantasy sitcom with the three of them solving crimes and being idiots together. So the band's playing. Clary and Izzy are both in the audience of the bar watching them. And then Clary sees that Jace is there and goes to talk to him. And she's like, "You don't even like Simon. Why are you here?" And he's like, "Simon said you weren't coming to this gig." And she's like, "So you only came to the gig because you thought I wouldn't be here? If you're breaking up with me, just tell me instead of ignoring me." Because she thinks he's just ghosting her. And he's like, "Why does everyone think I'm breaking up with you? First Simon, now you." And she's like, "Why have you been talking to Simon about us, but you won't talk to me?" And he's all dramatic and edgy, and he's like, "Because I can't talk to you. I can't even look at you." Which we know why, but she doesn't. And poor Clary runs out the door. She's like, "My hot boyfriend doesn't love me anymore." Jace, this is why we communicate. For some weird reason, he thinks that Clary finding out about his dreams is gonna make her hate him. And it's like, dude, not talking to her is worse. A word of advice for the youngins watching this video: if you're dating someone and something's wrong, literally just fucking tell them. God! That was a PSA from yours truly. But yeah, Jace being an idiot when it comes to his relationship with Clary is not surprising because 1, he's a Herondale, 2, he's a teenage boy, 3, he's a teenage Herondale boy. And if we know anything about being a teenage boy, it's that they are, say it with me, fucking stupid. And if there's anything we know about boys in their 20s, they're also, say it with me, fucking stupid. Obviously, this doesn't apply to the 3 guys that watch my videos. You guys are fine. I mean, maybe you guys are stupid, I don't know, but it's okay, you get a pass. So Clary runs out and the band's starting up their next song. The one band member, Eric, who is so funny, is like, "Now we're gonna sing a new song, one we just wrote. This one's for my girlfriend. We've been going out for 3 weeks, and damn, our love is true. We're gonna be together forever, baby. This one's called Bang You Like a Drum." I don't know, I kind of love them. I kind of want to hear Bang You Like a Drum. I'd be a fan of Simon's shitty indie band. I love shitty indie bands. Simon's like, "God, not another song." Well, except he can't say God because he's a vampire. He's like, "Will Herondale, not another song." Because he's about to pass out. He's sick. He needs blood now. Because reminder, in the wise words of Jace, blood isn't like food to vampires. Blood is blood. I think the characters just spend this entire book high. Like they are just smoke. There is something in Kyle's apartment, and they are on something this whole book. I swear to God. So Simon just bails and runs backstage in the middle of the song. And then a moment later, this girl Maureen runs in. She's 13 years old. She's Eric's cousin, and she goes to all of their gigs because she's got a big crush on Simon. And she goes around like telling people that she's his girlfriend and stuff. And it's, it's like a little middle school girl with a crush. She's like, "Can we take a picture, Simon?" He's like, "No, it's not really a good time, Mo." And she's like, "Please, Simon, it'll be quick." And he's like, "Okay, okay, real quick." And she leans in real close to take a selfie, and just the smell of blood is overwhelming, and Simon can't take it anymore, and he can't stop himself, and he bites her. And he just keeps drinking and drinking, even after she goes limp. And he remembers what Camille said to him when they first met. She said, "You have never fed on someone purely human, have you? You will. And when you do, you'll never forget it." Oh, the drama. Cut back to Clary. She ran out into the alleyway outside the bar, and then Jace comes after her, and it's raining, by the way, because the rain always adds more drama. Like, whoever decided to add rain during Darcy's first proposal scene in Pride and Prejudice 2005, genius. Genius. The 2005 adaptation of Pride and Prejudice is like one of those things that I'm a little bit hipster about, because like I liked that movie for years and years and years, and now all of a sudden it's like really popular on TikTok with all of the like book talk girlies, and I'm like, I was here first. It's really not that deep, but you know, I'm one of those people. I liked it first before the rest of you. What do you know about Jane Austen? They have a pretty intense argument about why Jace is pushing Clary away and not telling her the reason. And then mid argument, they just start making out, like frantically making out against the alley wall in the rain. And like, not gonna lie, I'm kind of telling on myself right now, but not gonna lie, the scene's kind of hot. I know I don't like Jace and Clary. Like, I don't like them. But like, the tension. If there's one thing Cassandra Clare knows how to do, it's write insane tension that builds up to like the most dramatic makeout scene ever. Good shit. Good shit. And honestly, I did ship Jason Clary when I was younger. It wasn't until I was older that I started to be annoyed with them. And at the point when this book was published, this was by far the hottest and steamiest scene out of any of the Shadowhunter books, okay? I was like, oh damn. Like, this came before Clockwork Prince, you know? So as they're violently making out against this wall, Jace is like, I'm sick of pretending I can't live without you. Can't you see it's killing me? Because he's dramatic like that. And like, it's cringy. It's cringy. Maybe if it was like the right ship and the right context, it could be hot. Like, maybe if they'd known each other for a lot longer. And the reason that Jace had to push Clary away was for some other valid reason, like he's cursed so that everyone who loves him will die or something, and not just him having nightmares and deciding that he's going to ghost his girlfriend and not tell her anything because he doesn't want her to dislike him, even though that literally makes no sense and there's zero logic in that. Teenage boys, man, they're stupid. So they're going at it, and then the door opens suddenly, and Izzy comes out, and she's like, I can't believe you two. Why? What's wrong with bedrooms and privacy? They just stare at her. She's like, I was looking for Simon because he ran off stage suddenly, but clearly he's not here. Go back to what you were doing. What's the point in wasting a perfectly good brick wall when you have someone to throw it against? That's what I always say. And goes back into the bar. Jace looks all shocked at himself, and Clary's like, Jace. And he's like, don't. I can't. And runs off. Boy, you're not Will Herondale. You will never be Will Herondale. You are not cursed. You can talk to your girlfriend. Just go talk to her. Oh my. Anyways, cut back to Simon drinking blood out of a passed out 13-year-old girl. Kyle angrily runs in and stops him, and he's like, I can't believe you. I hope you feel really goddamn terrible. Which, I mean, sure, but also Simon's a new vampire, and making sure that he had enough blood was kind of your responsibility too, Kyle, so who are you really angry at right now, you know? Maureen is still alive. She's just passed out, and Simon is feeling so guilty. Kyle says that he'll take care of Maureen and makes Simon leave, and Simon goes outside, and he doesn't feel really goddamn terrible. He feels amazing. Camille was right. Drinking blood directly from humans is like a million times better. And he can see all the bright details of the world and the light reflecting off the rain, and it makes him feel so guilty. Because he should be feeling worse than he does right now. Also, this random lady shows up and she says that she's a band promoter and that she liked their performance and gives him her card. He's like, our band sucks. Why would she want to, you know what, whatever. Then Izzy shows up and hugs him and she's like, hey Simon, glad you're okay. Clary and Jace already left, so I was wondering if maybe you wanted to. And then Maya shows up and she's like, Simon, what's going on? She's hitting the fan. And normally Simon's careful and makes sure that he only invites Izzy and Maya to alternating gigs. But someone, we don't know who, put a flyer under the door of the pack headquarters that evening. So Maya decided to stop by. And now they know that he's been two-timing them and they go off on him. One of the bandmates, Eric, shows up and he's like, ladies, there's plenty of Simon to go around. And Izzy just gives him one look and he immediately runs into the van with the rest of the band and they just speed off. And Simon says, I'm reading from the book. I'm really sorry, Simon said. The buzz from the blood he drank was beginning to wear off, thankfully. He felt less dizzy with overwhelming sensation, but more panicked. To make things worse, his mind kept returning to Maureen and what he'd done to her and whether she was all right. Please let her be all right. I should have told you guys. It's just, I really like you both, and I didn't want to hurt either of your feelings. The moment it was out of his mouth, he realized how stupid he sounded. Just another jerkish guy making excuses for his jerk behavior. Simon had never thought of himself like that. He was a nice guy, the type of guy who got overlooked, passed up for the sexy bad boy or the tortured artist type, for the self involved kind of guy who would think nothing of dating two girls at once while maybe not exactly lying about what he was doing, but not telling the truth about it either. Wow, he said mostly to himself. I am a huge asshole. That's probably the first true thing you've said since I got here, said Maya. Amen, said Isabel. Though if you ask me, it's too little too late. At least he's aware now. Then Kyle shows up, looking angry at Simon still. Simon's like, how is Maureen? Is she okay? Maureen is okay, by the way, guys. She thinks that she just fainted while taking the photo with Simon, and so she's like embarrassed, but she's in a cab going home. But then Kyle looks over at Maya, and Maya looks over at Kyle, and she just goes, Jordan, and lunges at him and sinks her claws into his throat. Fun stuff, guys, fun stuff. End of part 1. Part 2. Turns out that Kyle's full name is actually Jordan Kyle, and he was actually Maya's ex-boyfriend. Remember when I said to put a pin in Maya's backstory in City of Ashes? Well, it's time to unpin that. So, we learned from Maya's backstory before that she was dating this guy named Jordan, who was super sweet, but then after some time, he suddenly became super aggressive and controlling and angry, and he hit her one day, so Maya immediately broke up with him, and then later she kissed another guy in front of him to really emphasize that they were done. Then she was walking home one night and was attacked by this giant wolf, which was Jordan, and he bit her and said, "You're mine, you'll always be mine," and turned her into a werewolf. So yeah, that motherfucker was actually this guy, Kyle, whose name is actually Jordan. Jordan Kyle. Got it. So cut back to present time. Once they stop Maya from killing Jordan, he goes home with Simon and explains his point of view. He basically says, I would have let Maya kill me right there if she wanted, because I was terrible to her. She's the reason I joined the Praetor. And it's like weird because it's not technically his fault, because new werewolves really can't control their anger or their transformations. I believe Luke said when he first transformed into a werewolf, he just blacked out and then like came to when he was back to a human and he was covered in blood. So like he didn't even know what happened. And when you're a human slowly transforming into a werewolf, you also can't really control your anger and stuff, but that doesn't mean it's okay. But it's hard because it's not really a one-to-one comparison to domestic violence in real life, because there's this fantasy explanation that takes some of the blame off Jordan. So he could theoretically be a character that could get redeemed because it's not like he willingly abused Maya. But also, it's still not great to have this domestic abuser guy be our good guy, especially when this book is targeted towards young teens who are probably experiencing relationships for the first time. With Jordan, he has spent the past however many years since he turned Maya trying to redeem himself and be a better person, and that's why he joined the Guard. He originally found out about the Guard because he had a Praetor Lupus member assigned to him after he bit Maya, and that's why he also wanted to help other werewolves so that he could prevent them from doing what he had done. I think Cassandra Clare ultimately changed her mind about their relationship after she got feedback when City of Lost Souls came out, but for now, it's just a little uncomfy. These books did not age perfectly. I don't necessarily agree with everything in this book, and I do think Jordan has tried to be as good a person as possible since back then when he first was changed. I don't really think I'm an authority to talk about this topic. I don't think it's exactly black and white whether it's okay to like Jordan or not. A little complicated. I hope that made sense. I don't think domestic violence is okay. I don't think it's necessarily good to have a character who has done that stuff in the past and then like make them a good guy, but kind of Jordan's whole arc and his whole character is him trying to be a better person. And obviously, this is a weird fantasy situation that is not replicable in real life. And of course, Maya's pain and anger are completely justified in this situation, regardless of your opinions on Jordan. Just because Jordan didn't mean to hurt Maya, it doesn't mean that he didn't. All of that. So for now, just put a pin in all of that Maya Jordan stuff. I have a lot to say about their relationship, but I'm gonna wait till later. Simon's like, oh, dude, that's bad. But also, he did just drink blood from a 13-year-old girl until she passed out, so he's not really in a place for judgment. So he's like, thanks for sharing your story. I also want to make up for the bad things I've done. Also, Jordan kind of chose to follow Simon's case because Maya's name was mentioned in the file, and he was the one who slid the flyer under the door so that Maya would find out about the gig. Because he was like, dude, stop two-timing Maya. Also, the night that he bit Maya was the first night that he had ever turned into a werewolf. He didn't even know what was going on. He's kept his distance from her because he knew that she probably wouldn't want to see him, but he has been thinking of her all of these years. Then there's a knock on the door and they get a letter from someone saying, Simon, we have your girlfriend. Come to this address or we'll kill her. And Simon's like, wait, which one? And Jordan's like, oh my fucking god. So they call Izzy, she's angry but fine. They call Maya, she's angry but fine. They call Clary just in case the kidnappers got confused, she's also fine. Jordan's like, you got any other girls to call? And Simon's like, no, maybe it was just a prank, but it doesn't seem like one, so. Meanwhile, Clary, remember Clary? She used to be the main character. When Clary went with Jocelyn to that hospital to see the baby, she had secretly taken a tiny piece of cloth from the poor baby's corpse. And she uses a tracking rune on the cloth to find that it came from a Church of Talto. And she gets the address and sends a message to someone saying to meet her there because she wants to find out what's going on with this baby. So she goes to this church, but then she gets attacked by a Hydra demon and almost dies. Maybe. If she had gotten up on the Hydra's back. Where's my Kingdom Hearts fans at? Hey, get up on the Hydra's back. Honestly, I feel like there should be a larger overlap of people who like the Shadowhunter books and people who like the Kingdom Hearts games. Like, there's a bunch of both of them. The storylines are super crazy and all connected. There's a feisty redhead. Everyone has blue eyes. Mickey Mouse is there, no. But before Clary can die, Izzy, who she had sent the message to, shows up to save the day and helps Clary defeat the Hydra. So they do some exploring and they realize that this church is for some sort of weird cult that really likes gray Juicy Couture tracksuits. And they worship some sort of demon lady. Oh, did I mention that the address on the letter that was sent to Simon is the same address as this place? Because it is. Simon was literally calling her, asking her if she was okay as she was on her way to this church. It's really funny. I know I keep joking about the Juicy Couture tracksuits, but the fact that this takes place in 2007 means that that was totally a viable option. These cultists could have been walking around with Juicy bedazzled on their ass. Like, if I were in charge of making the movie, that's what I would have done. That's all I'm saying. I would also play Britney Spears and other pop hits of the 2000s as the Shadowhunters fight demons and stuff. Like, put me in, coach. I could do it. I could make a great adaptation. Cassandra, I know Cassandra has no idea who I am, but I like to imagine that if she did, I would be on some sort of Shadowhunter watch list. She'd be like, keep this girl away from me. Back at Jordan's apartment, Jay shows up and says that the Clave wants to meet with Simon because it's time for their plan with Camille. So Simon goes to meet with Camille to confirm whether he'll work with her or not, and he's all sassy to her, and she's like, you don't want to get on my bad side. What are you doing? Because his phone started ringing, and she's like, do not pick it up. And he picks it up and he's like, hey. And she's like, get off the fucking phone. But what she doesn't know is that he secretly clicked the camera button while it was pointed at her and then clicked send. And he's like, oh, sorry, that was so rude of me. I recorded this whole section and then realized that my phone wasn't recording because it ran out of storage. Where was I? And Camille's like, I demand more respect than that from my servants. You will never do that again, or... And Simon goes, or what? You can't hurt me any more than anyone else can. And you told me I wouldn't be a servant. You told me I'd be your partner. Maybe I ought to reconsider my acceptance of your offer. And Camille's like, oh, for God's sake, don't be a little fool. And Simon asks how she's able to say God because vampires are damned and can't say God. And she says, because I do not believe in him, silly boy. And you still do. Which, like, metal, but also angels and demons exist in this universe. I feel like it makes sense that there's like a guy upstairs too, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it would be very easy to be religious in this universe, you know what I mean? So after wasting plenty of time and thoroughly pissing off Camille, Simon's like, okay, I'll join you now, And she tries to make him sign a blood oath, which would be supernaturally binding. And he's like, ooh, actually, I don't like pain or knives or blood. I mean, I know I'm a vampire, but... And she's like, if you don't stop wasting my time, and then a portal suddenly opens up and Shadowhunters pour in. Because obviously the Clave's main problem was that Camille was in hiding and they didn't know where they could find her to arrest her. And Camille was willing to come out of hiding to meet with Simon. So Simon took a photo of Camille's location and sent it to Jace, since in order to portal somewhere, you need to be able to visualize it. So it stands to reason that if you had a photo of where you wanted to go, you could use that. And that's like really smart. That's like way too smart for the Shadowhunters to figure out how to do. And the book tries to convince us that this was Jace's idea. But I called bullshit. That was not Jace's idea. The boy doesn't even know what a mango looks like. You think he figured out this plan? Jace doesn't fully understand mundane technology. He wouldn't think to use it as part of their plan because he, just like all of the other Shadowhunters, look down on mundane technology. But you know who does know how mundane technology works and is a nerd and also pretty smart and knows how to rules lawyer his way through situations because he plays D&D? Simon! I know that was Simon's idea. Cassandra Clare cannot convince me otherwise. There are so many situations throughout the series where if the Shadowhunters stopped looking down on mundanes and mundane technology, they would be able to actually get a lot more accomplished. But that's a topic for a different video. So for now, we're just gonna pretend, sure, yeah, that was totally Jace's idea. So they arrest Camille, she's very dignified about it, and says that she'll only answer their questions if Magnus Bane is the one asking them. Thank you. It's been far too long without Magnus and Alec, honestly. They need to come back. So they take Camille to the Sanctuary, which is a room connected to the side of the Institute where the Clave can meet with and or hold vampires prisoner. Since vampires can't go in the actual Institute since it's holy ground, and vampires can't go on holy ground because they're damned or whatever. Downworlders who are seeking asylum can also stay in the Sanctuary if they want. I mean, they probably don't want to, but they could. Okay, so Camille is obviously a dangerous vampire and has been doing bad things and killing mundanes, but also the way that the Shadowhunters are treating her understandably leaves a gross taste in Simon's mouth, and it's interesting to see his point of view on how they treat him versus her. Like, Simon watches them put handcuffs made of blessed metal on her, and Jace explains to Simon it burns them being vampires, and Simon thinks, them? You mean you? I'm just like her. I'm not different just because you know me. And anyone who is a minority in any way probably knows what that's like to have someone be like, well, you're different from like the rest of them. And it's like, you demeaning the rest of a group of people I'm a part of doesn't make me feel like you actually value me as a person. Up until this point, I've only done summary videos, but I really, really want to do a video essay just on the racism of the Shadowhunters, especially from Simon's point of view, because there's just a lot to unpack there. I then proceeded to record for another 45 minutes, not realizing that the microphone died at the beginning, and when I watched back the muted footage, I was so upset that I did not film for another month and a half. Sorry. Anyways, then Izzy shows up and explains what happened with her and Clary and how Clary's upstairs, injured. So Jace like goes after Clary. And Simon and Izzy talk and he apologizes again and explains about how he didn't know about Jordan. And Izzy admits that Simon really hurt her. And she says that she's different than Alec and Jace when it comes to love. Because she explains when she was 13, her mom told her about how her dad had an affair and was actually going to leave. But then he ended up staying because Maris got pregnant with Max, which was like fucked up of her to tell her 13-year-old daughter, but you know. Mothers love trauma dumping on eldest daughters. I'm a middle child. I don't gotta deal with that. And Maris told Izzy you can't trust men, so when Izzy sees Jace and Alec giving their whole hearts away, she just can't help but think, don't you know better? Hearts are breakable. Oh my god, I love the angst. And Simon's like, yeah, but sometimes heartbreak makes you stronger. And he says how it was good that he broke things off with Clary. And she's like, oh, I didn't know that you broke things off with her. I thought you were still in love with her and that you couldn't be serious with anyone else. Sorry, I love Simon and Izzy. They are my ship. And he goes, because you pick guys who will never be serious about you. So you never need to be serious about them. He's like, I care about you. I always cared about you. And she goes to take a step towards him, but then he smells her blood and remembers biting Maureen, so he tenses up. But she doesn't know that's why he tenses up. And she goes, all right, well, I'm glad we talked. And then, my ship. Then Izzy leaves the sanctuary to go into the Institute, and Simon watches her, knowing that as a vampire, he can't follow. How angsty. Oh, listen. Like, you didn't think that, like, Izzy was going to be the one who was, like, just so head over heels for Simon, but, like, didn't want to get her heart broken, you know? Like, you'd think that Simon would be the one getting his heart broken, but, like, I am obsessed with the trope where it's, like, the heartbreaker is like the one who like falls harder. Like that's my I eat that shit up. Meanwhile, Jace was looking for Clary and he finds her in a spare bedroom and she wakes up like, huh? He just starts kissing her. He's so annoying. Like their relationship right now is just, let's not talk about our problems and just make out instead. And it doesn't hit. Like with Will and Tessa, there was a legitimate actual reason that Will couldn't tell Tessa about the curse and why Tessa couldn't tell Will that she loved him too. But with this, Jace literally just tell Clary that you're having nightmares. That's all it takes. You're pulling an Anakin right now, and it's frankly really annoying. And maybe if you watch Star Wars, you'd be able to prevent what's going to happen. I mean, don't worry about it, friends. Nothing bad's going to happen. But luckily, Clary has temporary custody of their single shared brain cell, and she's like, no, you can't just kiss me instead of talking to me. Don't act like you're so worried about me if you're just going to ignore me. It's like dating a ghost, which is funny because I would disagree. I think it's worse than dating a ghost. Jesse Blackthorne was a kind and caring lover, okay? If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. Give me like 3 years and we'll get to it. Jace sees Clary's injuries from the Hydra demon she fought, and he's like, I didn't know. I didn't know you needed me. And she's like, I always need you. And it's like, bruh. They give off the vibes of like that couple in high school that had only dated for a month back, like they're gonna be together forever, and they like make out against the lockers. Every time you look at them, their faces are just like inches apart from each other. You guys know what I'm talking about. Like there's always like that one couple in every high school. Anyways, they start making out again, and Jace is like, I know I've been acting weird, but I'll get help. I promise. I swear on the angel. To hell with that. I swear on us, which cracks me up. Like, bro, Raziel exists. He literally resurrected you. He's the reason you're still alive right now. Like, don't insult Raziel. He knows who you are, and he's probably keeping tabs on you. Do you not fear the higher beings of your world? Like, you have solid concrete evidence that these guys are real. I would not want to piss Raziel off. Clary's like, why us? And Jay says, because there isn't anything I believe in more. And I'm just going to ignore the timeline of these books. Don't think too hard about how they met in August and it's only October right now. So they make out. It gets really steamy. Their shirts come off. And then suddenly Jace reaches to the side table and Clary's like, Jace, I don't think I'm ready, thinking he's reaching for something else. But then he grabs a knife and he cuts her arm. And no, this isn't a dream. This actually happens. I'm so excited. She's like, what the fuck? And he just sinks to his knees and puts his head in his hands. I ran out of storage again, which I think is my sign that I need to buy a camera. Okay, so I love this. I love that it was foreshadowed with dreams and you thought that Jace was being dramatic for pushing Clary away just because of a couple of nightmares, but then it actually ended up happening and Jace was like kind of right. And I love that Jace celebrated getting to second base by trying to kill his girlfriend. He's got the spirit, he's just a little bit confused about what's supposed to happen next. Boy caught a slight glimpse of his girl's boobs and was like, I need to stab something. Yeah, I'm gonna put something in you, but it's not my dick. Rip Jace Lightwood, Waylon Morgenstern Herondale, resident dumbass and last name collector. I'm sorry that this is my sense of humor, but like you guys clicked on this video, you should know better by now. Cut to Simon back in the sanctuary. He's chilling with Camille, as much as Camille can be chilling while handcuffed. And then Alec and Magnus show up. Woo! Poor guys had to have their vacation cut short. Also, if you read The Red Skulls of Magic, then you know that Alec and Magnus were actually in New York at this time, but they just didn't tell anybody, and that's how they got here so quickly. Love to see it. Alec's like, so why will Camille only talk to you, Magnus? And Magnus explains that he used to date Camille, which if you read The Infernal Devices, you would know. And Alec's like, you dated a vampire? A girl vampire? Not the downloader racism and biphobia combo meal. Alec has a lot of flaws that are realistic given the way that he was raised. And he goes through a lot of development and is like so great by the end of the series. But that doesn't mean that it won't be a rough read when it comes to Alec for these next couple books. All right, this is really random, but during the scene it says that Simon looked at the stained glass windows, which doesn't make sense because why are there windows in the sanctuary? Like, vampires can't be in the sun in the sanctuary specifically for the vampire. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. I don't know. I mean, I have like the original copy, so I don't know if she's updated it. That was something where I was like, why are you here? Anyways, Magnus is like, that was literally a century ago. I've dated a lot of people throughout the years. And Alec has the audacity to start acting all upset, like, how many people have you dated? 100? And it's like, Alec, have you never once stopped to consider that maybe your immortal boyfriend, who is indeed immortal and has lived for centuries, has maybe dated more people than you? Magnus is like, well, I live forever, but not everyone does. Oh my god. And Alec is like, this motherfucker, I'm sorry. Alec's like, so you just stay with them until they die and then find someone else? What the f do you think, Alec? And Magnus is like, would you rather I spend eternity alone? Which is a good point. Alec just scoffs and leaves. He needs to get his shit together. I know he's young. I know he doesn't have a lot of dating experience, but like, God, Alec, what did you think? Magnus just looks at Simon like, eavesdropping vampire. Simon's like, I have a name. And Magnus says, I suppose I'd better remember it. After all, in 100, 200 years, it'll be just you and me. We'll be all that's left. Which is sad. So Magnus tries to question Camille and see what she has to say, but she tries to play the nostalgia card and she's all, do you remember back when we were together? De Quincy's balls? Will Herondale? I'm completely normal about fictional characters. Magnus then thinks of Tessa and it says, in a world where everything went away from him eventually, she was one of the few remaining constants, which is... I'm completely normal about fictional characters. Listen, Tessa and Magnus's friendship is so sweet. Magnus, though, is not letting Camille get away with all this. He's like, you left me. You made a pet of me and then left me. If love were food, I would have starved on the bones you gave me. Ooh. And Camille says that Alec reminds her of Will because he's got the black hair, right? And then he's got the blue eyes. He's got the Herondale blue eyes because it passed down from Cecily into the Lightwood family. That's not how genetics works, but in this book, that's how the genetics work. Don't worry about it. And Camille says, pretty boys have always been your undoing. Same. Same. Magnus is like, you could give me the past, but Alec is my future. Oh. Anyways, Camille says that she did kill those former circle members, but that someone made her, and she'll only say who if the Clave will grant her immunity.
I also just wanted to point out that I think it's so funny that Will Herondale just had such a big impact on everyone that even literally a century later, the Immortal characters keep bringing him up. He's that guy, you know? It's very similar to how the fandom still hasn't been able to get over Will Herondale, even though Clockwork Princess came out 12 years ago.
So, cut back to Jason Clary. He explains what's been happening with the dreams, and he thinks he's going crazy, but Clary's like, no, someone is doing this to you. So they decide to go to the Silent Brothers for help. Good. And Jason's like, okay, but first you should probably get dressed. I mean, I appreciate the bra and panties look, but I don't know if the Silent Brothers will. There's only a few of them left, and I don't want them to die of excitement. I hate that he's funny sometimes. I hate it so much. So, Jason and Clary go to the Silent City, and the brothers are like a little sassy with them. They're like, we are not your servants at your beck and call. Nor does every problem fall under our jurisdiction, because that is how they sound. I've just headcanon that now. The Silent Brothers are just in your head like, bruh, this is so totally wild. I can't believe this. So the brothers, So the Silent Brothers search Jace's head, trying to figure out what's going on. And Brother Enoch, my king, Brother Enoch. I'm so normal about fictional characters. Yeah, Brother Enoch, he's like, there's the mark of death about you. I know what you did last summer. So now they know about Raziel and Jace dying, all of that. Anyways, then Brother Zachariah. Oh my god. Brother Zachariah. I'm so normal about fictional characters. Anyways, Brother Zachariah says that if he had met Jace sooner, he would have known who he was. Oh, spoilers for the Infernal Devices, by the way. Like major spoilers for the Infernal Devices. And then he says that long ties exist between the Herondales and the Silent Brothers, which, yeah. But then he says that the Silent Brothers owe the Herondales, which kind of makes no sense. Like, Will really was the one who owed Jem for all that Jem helped him with. I feel like maybe it's referring to the last hours, like unintentionally. It just kind of worked out that way. Because, like, they did help with the dead Silent Brothers with the whole Belial thing and Chain of Thorns, but that's obviously not intentional. Oh, spoilers for the last hours, I guess. That's obviously not intentional, unless Cassandra had this entire plot line planned since back then, which I seriously doubt. I think it's more of like a she retroactively made it fit. But I don't know. I still don't. Maybe Jem feels like he owes Will, but like, does he? Does he? Anyways, so the brothers say that when you're born, they place these special protection spells on you to prevent getting possessed. But since Jace died and was like reborn, basically, he never got those protection spells replaced on him, thus making him vulnerable to possession. So they said he's getting possessed and they're going to keep Jace overnight and do the protection spells so that he can be safe and stop getting possessed and trying to kill his girlfriend. Jace is like, do I have to? And Clary's like, it's okay. I'll stay here with you. And the Silent Brothers all in unison shout, no. They cockblocked them. They said, we cannot deal with two teenagers trying to like spend the night together in the Silent City. It is called the Silent City for a reason. We're going to keep it that way. We already have to deal with Brother Zachariah constantly pining over that warlock woman for the past century. We can't also deal with the drama of you two together. So Jace stays the night and falls asleep and has a dream where Max shows up and tries to convince Jace that if he just cuts himself with this special dagger, then he'll be able to stop hurting Clary. Jace is like, okay, I believe you, which I'm like, Jace, do not listen to this creepy little dream Max. That is not Max. And if a demon's been influencing your dreams, then maybe this dream is also being influenced. Stop! I swear, Jace is so easily manipulated. Like, you'd think it would be the opposite, and that he would be super guarded because of his upbringing. But instead, he flipped the other way and is so desperate for belonging that he's kind of gullible when it comes to protecting Clary and the people he loves. I guess it's like a realistic character flaw, since otherwise he'd be too perfect, and OP since he's a really good fighter and has the extra angel blood, so I can't be too annoyed, but still, it kind of annoys me. Max is like, this dagger will cut away the bad parts of your soul. And I'm like, nah, this is some Kingdom Hearts Xehanort creating Vanitas Inventus Keyblade type shit. Like, get out of here, Chase. Get the hell out of there. Spoiler, he doesn't get the hell out of there. He takes the dagger and cuts his arm, and then Max uses the blood to draw a rune on Jace's chest, and then starts going all demon-y and is like, you're mine now, Jace Lightwood, you're mine. And the crowd's unsurprised. Oopsie. Meanwhile, Simon and Jordan have a problem. There was a newspaper shoved under their door this morning, and the front page headline talks about how a girl was found dead. And it's Maureen. Okay, also though, the way that they realized it was Maureen was that there was a photo of her dead body in the trash can, and they recognized her outfit, and it's like, what newspaper would release the photo of a child's corpse and on the front page? That would never happen, but I digress. Anyway, remember how that note said that if Simon didn't go to that address, they'd kill his girlfriend? And remember how Maureen would go to all the band's gigs and tell everyone that she was dating Simon? Yeah. He's like, she must have been waiting for me all day, hoping for me to show up and save her. Poor girl. Jordan has Simon call the Institute to ask if they know anything, and Izzy picks up and says that she recognizes the address and that it's this demon worshipping cult, because she went with Clary. So they know now who was attacking Simon, and surprise, surprise, it all connects together. And Izzy says that the Clave is already investigating that place, so she'll tell them what happened, and then they can meet at the party tonight to figure out the next steps. Because Luke and Jocelyn are having their engagement party tonight. And Izzy says to bring Jordan as his bodyguard. Simon's like, I guess you're coming as my date now. And Jordan goes, I'm secure enough in my masculinity to accept that. We'd better get you something nice to wear, though. I want you to look pretty. Romance. Party time! It's in this very classy old factory that's all brick and metal and glass and fancy and you know. And Luke's pack decorated it all nice and stuff. And everyone's dressed all glamorously, which is always fun. I love when the characters are all in fancy evening wear for the big battle. I mean, what big battle? There's gonna be no battle. What? At the party, a fairy shows up to Clary and tells her that the Seelie Queen forgives Clary for her sass, and here's a silver bell which she can ring if she ever needs the Queen's help. Clary's like, fine, but I won't need any of her help. And the fairy's like, in the future you might. Totally not sus. Totally not sus. Simon and Jordan show up to meet with Izzy, who's pissed off at both of them. Jordan wants to know if Maya's okay, and Izzy's like, none of your f***ing business. Jordan's like, I feel a sense of responsibility. To which Izzy replies, and where is this feeling located? In your pants, perhaps? I love her. Izzy says that Maya understands why Jordan has to be here tonight, but that she's only okay with it if he ignores her. So don't bother her, don't try to talk to her, don't even look at her, or I'll fold you in half so many times you'll look like a tiny little origami werewolf. And then Simon laughs and she's like, huh, laugh away. She doesn't want to talk to you either. So despite the fact that she looks totally babylicious tonight, and if I were into chicks, I would completely go for her, neither of you are allowed to talk to her. Got it? Like, come on, she's literally the best. So they go inside, sit down at a table together, and Magnus and Alec are still fighting. Magnus is like, oh, Jordan, you're from the Praetor Lupus? Good organization. I knew the man who founded it back in the 1800s. Woolsey Scott. Respectable old werewolf family. And Alec goes, did you sleep with him too? Oh my god. Yikes. Although he did actually sleep with him. And Jordan's just gazing longingly at Maya from a distance, which double yikes. So he's just missing the whole conversation and the fact that Magnus and Alec are currently arguing. Magnus is like, Alec. And Alec's like, what? Am I preventing you from flirting with werewolf boy over here? He's pretty attractive if you like the messy haired, broad shouldered, chiseled good looks type. Jordan's like, hey now. Yeah, no need to be so insulting. Magnus like puts his head in his hands, but Alec just keeps going. He's like, or there are plenty of girls here since apparently your taste goes both ways. Is there anything you aren't into? Yikes. And Magnus is like, mermaids. They always smell like seaweed. Listen, the biphobia is straight up not a vibe. I really don't like that Cassandra did that. Like, I get that Alec is super insecure, so I could see him feeling upset that Magnus has all of this past history and experience. But maybe we could have done that without the added in biphobia. You feel me? I think if this came out today, Cassandra Clare probably wouldn't have had Alec have that as a flaw. She's not like excusing biphobia in this scene though, because the narrative is painting Alec in a negative light, and he's obviously supposed to be in the wrong. But it's just awkward coming from a gay character that we're supposed to be rooting for with a ship that we're supposed to be rooting for. So yeah. So everyone just kind of awkwardly leaves one by one, like, Oh, I got stuff to do. With only Jordan left sitting there, and Simon notices Jordan looking at Maya, and he's like, don't even think about it. So Clary had gotten up from the table because she thought she saw Jace. Simon goes after her, and then they finally talk about what's been going on with Jace, so now he knows. And then Maya talks with Simon about stuff, and he apologizes again for being a bad boyfriend. She says that her guy friend Bat said that she shouldn't be so hard on him because boys do stupid things when it comes to girls. Which I mean, like, true.
True that guys do stupid things, not true that she should go easy on him.
And Simon says that he really liked how Maya made him feel normal, like the person he was before. Stop. And she's like, I'm a werewolf, not exactly normal. And he's like, no, you are. You're genuine and real, one of the realest people I know, which is really sweet. Because Maya is super grounded and down to earth and like, yeah, one of the only normal characters in this whole series. But also, she points out that the stuff he says he likes about her and the stuff that he enjoyed doing when they spent time together was more friend stuff than girlfriend stuff. So they're probably better off as friends. And then the topic of Jordan comes up, and she's like, well, if he's so sorry, then why didn't he try to contact me and apologize? And Simon says that he did try, but the Praetor wouldn't let him. And he also mentions how the night that Jordan bit her was the first night that he had ever turned, which I guess helped take a little bit of the sting away because it wasn't like intentional. And Simon's like, listen, he was actually going to physically fight me when he found out I was two-timing you. Because he was pissed. He's sitting over there if you want to chat with him. And then he goes. Meanwhile, Clary goes out on the terrace where Jace is, and she's like, hey, what's up? And he's like, I did the ritual, so I came here, which is totally not suspicious. Clary. Why would he go on the terrace by himself instead of talking to you? The Silent Brothers said it could take days. Days! Neither of them have the brain cell right now. That brain cell is long gone, just like Magnus's patience when a Shadowhunter enters the room. Jace is just like, if Valentine did to me what he did to Sebastian, would you still love me? Clary's like, but then it wouldn't be you. This is just the fantasy version of, babe, would you still love me if I turned into a worm? You know what the Infernal Devices gang would say? They'd be like, no, we'd fucking kill you if you turned into a worm. And Jace is just having an existential crisis, because when isn't he? And he says, I don't know who I am, he said. I look at myself in the mirror and I see Stephen Herondale, but I act like a Lightwood and talk like my father, like Valentine. So I see who I am in your eyes, and I try to be that person, because you have faith in that person, and I think faith might be enough to make me what you want. That's kind of cute. Wait, that's kind of cute. But then he says that he wants to mark her with a rune that will permanently bind them, which is not kind of cute. Larry, girl, get the fuck away. Do not trust him. Trust your gut. Don't do it. I don't care that it's Jason that he's hot, okay? You need to stop thinking with what's in your pants and start thinking with what's in your skull, okay, babe? Spoiler alert. She can't hear me. So he draws a rune on her, which Clary realizes far too late is a rune that makes her pass out. And then he kidnaps her. Great. Meanwhile, Alec and Magnus talk it out, and it's pretty clear that Alec was just insecure, and Magnus reassures him, and he's like, listen, you're not trivial to me. Don't let Camille manipulate you, okay? And it's like really cute. But then we find out that Camille escapes, so Magnus has to go meet with the Clave and ruin the moment. The Clave. Cut to Simon. He goes outside the party just to clear his head a little bit. But then Maureen shows up, and she's a vampire now. And he's like, oh my god. So Maureen takes him up to this rooftop garden, and he meets none other than the record label lady. That's exactly who you were thinking, right? The record label lady is obviously evil and powerful, and Simon's like, ooh, I don't know what I'm with here, but he still sasses her because he's not gonna let that stop him. Simon, he's kind of fearless, honestly. He sasses all of the most powerful beings. She's like, you kept evading the people I sent after you. I thought it would be easier to capture a single new vampire, even a daylighter, although there hasn't been one for over 100 years. Yes, I'm older than I look. And Simon goes, I mean, you look pretty old. Oh my god. Bro, do not antagonize her like that. You do not know what you're messing with. And she says that she knows that Simon has the mark of Cain and that she actually knew Cain personally. She says, I am older than the dreams of your kind, little boy. I walked the paths of the Garden of Eden. I knew Adam before Eve did. I was his first wife, but I would not be obedient to him. So God cast me out and made for Adam a new wife, one fashioned out of his own body that she might ever be subservient. I have many names, but you may call me Lilith, first of all demons. Listen, I don't care that she's evil. I am Lilith's #1 fan, okay? Lilith. Didn't I mention that name before? I'm so subtle about this stuff. So Lilith says that she needs Simon's daylighter blood for her project and reveals this glass coffin filled with water and Sebastian's dead body. What? Yeah, she's trying to bring him back to life. Wake me up! Wake me up! It said, wake me up! Because in case you recall, Sebastian has Lilith's demon blood in him, so she's trying to bring her boy back. I love an emo mother and son duo. She says she wants to create a new race of Nephilim, but with her blood instead of Raziel's. That's fun. Simon's like, cool. You do that. You make a whole new race with one guy who is dead, mind you. I'm gonna stay out of it. And she's like, no, I need your vampire powers. Fight him. He's like, no. Also, vampire bites don't work once you're dead. You should know that. She's like, you really don't know, do you? An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a life for a life. To prevent chaos, there must be order. If a life is given to the light, a life is owed to the dark as well. Which you guys know whose fucking fault this whole thing is. It rhymes with dairy. Simon goes, I have literally no idea what you are talking about. And I don't care. You villains and your creepy little eugenics programs are starting to bore me, so I'm gonna leave now. You're welcome to try to stop me by threatening me or hurting me. In fact, I encourage you to go ahead and try. Oh my god. And this is why Simon is my favorite, because no other character would have the balls that this guy does. Mark of Cain go, woo! Like, remind me again how the Mark of Cain is supposed to be a curse. Also, I know that Lilith is supposed to have dark hair and like snakes for eyes, but my fan cast for Lilith is the evil lady from Sinbad. Voice, hair, everything. It's currently 10 p.m. when I'm filming this, so I'm going to try to be quiet. We'll see though. So, Izzy then realizes that Simon's missing, so Izzy, Jordan, Maya, and Alec all go together to find him. They go back to the apartment and find his wallet, which has the business card of the band promoter lady inside. And the name listed on her card is Citrina, which is one of the 17 names of Lilith. And one of the other names is Talto. So Izzy's like, oh. So she explains what happened with the Church of Talto, and Alec's like, why didn't you tell me this before? Because unlike Izzy and Jace, Alec actually pays attention during their lessons, so like he actually knows things. And he explains how in Shadowhunter lore, the Bible lore, I don't know the Bible, I'm sorry guys. How after Lilith didn't obey Adam, God cursed her so that every child she had would die. So she like murders infant children to get back at God. And she's the mother of all demons, and she can create demons by scattering drops of her blood and eat them, which is like a demon dimension, but it's kind of like an alternate dimension, but it's a demon. It's like basically hell, but it's you know what? Don't worry about it. We have plenty of time to go over it. We'll get to it. Don't worry about it. Anyways, the gang is like, we have no other possible clue to where Simon is, so they go to the address on the card just in case it's real. The address leads them to the construction site of the apartment building that Simon's currently on the roof of with Lilith. And there they also find a bunch of dead babies with claws and black eyes. So Lilith had basically been trying to make more babies that had some of her blood in it, kind of like Sebastian. And she was doing this along with the Juicy Gray tracksuit cult members, except it didn't work. Oh, and like Maya, Jordan, Izzy, and Alec get into a fight with the cult members while this is all going on. I don't really care though about the battle. We don't need to know about that. So Jace decides to show up to the roof where Simon and Lilith are, and now the gang's all here. And he has Clary at knife point. So romantic. Lilith does her little evil villain monologue thing to explain her plan, and Clary realizes that Lilith was the one who was giving Jace all of those dreams and made him hurt her that one time and is currently possessing him. Also, she realizes that Clary bringing Jace back to life is what will allow Lilith to bring Sebastian back. Obviously, Lilith needs Simon for his Daylighter blood so she can complete the ritual, which is why she had those cult members go after him. But since he has the Mark of Cain, she can't force him to help her now. So that's why she possessed Jace and had him bring Clary here. Because Lilith can't hurt Simon, but she can definitely hurt Clary. Clary just looks at Simon like, don't do it. Let possessed Jace kill me. It's fine. It's better than having Sebastian back. But Simon can't do it. Clary is his best friend. He can't let her die. And so he bites Sebastian. And while he's doing this, Clary is trying to break Jace out of his possession. Listen, I love when characters get possessed and are forced to like fight or almost hurt their loved ones. It's just so juicy. Like, I don't know. That's like, I don't know if there's something wrong with me, but like, I love it. Clary tries doing the classic, Jace, I know you're in there, but like it's not really working. And then she's just like distracting him, really. She's like, Jace, you know you don't need to hold that knife to my throat. I couldn't get away even if I wanted to. And let me turn around so I can see your face. I miss you. And even in his possessed state, even while being possessed by the mother of all demons, he's like, yeah, okay. And he like puts his knife back in his weapons belt. Who will win? The mother of all demons or one horny teenage boy? He's like, oh, you're shivering. Are you cold? And she's like, yeah, and like snuggles up close to him, which distracts him enough that she's able to actually grab the knife from his weapons belt and slash him in the chest. Moral of the story? Nothing, not even the mother of all frickin' demons, is strong enough to fight the horniness. Cut back to Izzy, Maya, Jordan, and Alec fighting the cult members, and they kind of get split up a little bit, and Alec runs into Camille, who was taken from the sanctuary and brought here by the cultists. He convinces her to tell him what she knows, so we find out that Lilith said she would help Camille regain her position as head of the Manhattan clan if she helped her, and Camille knew that she really had no choice and would be killed if she said no, so she killed those former circle members, and Lilith injected both demon blood and those dead Shadowhunters' blood into these cult members while they were pregnant, who really just joined the cult because they were like starving, and she said she'd like give them a place to live and stuff, which is kind of sad. And then the cult members got sick and their babies were born all sick and died. So, just overall a terrible situation. And Alec, who is currently in the dangerous lair of a powerful demon worshipping cult, the same building as the mother of all demons, and talking to one of the oldest and most powerful vampires of all time, looks at Camille and goes, "Who's Will?" Alec, you f***ing nerd. He is still hung up on how Camille and Magnus were talking about some guy named Will Herondale, who's probably not even that great, to be honest. Like, who even is that guy? Ah, Will, you've been dead for almost a century, and yet you're still haunting the narrative. The impact he's had. That's the power of the Herondale. So Camille is a master manipulator, and she recognizes that Alec's insecurity is his true weak spot, and she tells Alec that if he sets her free, she'll tell him a way that he and Magnus can be together forever. And it kind of works. She manipulates him and he cuts her chains off and then she disappears. Yikes. So, up on the rooftop garden lounge, Lilith summons a bloodhound demon to fight Jace and Clary. And Clary does a pretty good job fighting it, actually. One move she does that I like is she doesn't have a weapon on her, and so when the bloodhound comes up to her, she like yanks her necklace off and the chains snap into the bloodhound's eyes. Like, that was pretty smart. That was very Shadowhunter-y. I disagree with so many things that Clary does throughout this series, but at the very least, she does become a bit more of a competent fighter throughout the series, like especially in the second trilogy, so good for her. See, I'm not a hater just to be a hater. I'm a hater because Clary makes terrible decisions. Simon's just on the side, all sick and passing out from Sebastian's gross poison blood, but then Lilith forces Simon to give Sebastian some of his blood. Jace tells Clary to run, and then goes to fight Lilith, who is like way too badass for him. Like, he throws a Seraph Blade at her, but then she catches it mid-air and makes it sputter out and then dissolve into shards. Jace had named the blade Michael when it lit up because that's how Seraph Blades work. In case you didn't know, you say an angel's name and then it lights up and it like invokes the power of that angel or something. And Lilith's like, "I knew Michael. He was weak. Shout out if your name's Michael, you're a weak bitch." And Jace goes, "You and your name dropping. I knew Michael. I knew Samael. The angel Gabriel did my hair. It's like I'm with the band with biblical figures." Listen, I love the Mortal Instruments gang, okay? They as a collective are so unhinged and funny, just like the whole series. The Last Hours gang would not be joking around like this, let me tell you. And it says, shoot, I guess I gotta get the book. This was Jace being brave, Simon thought. Brave and snarky, because he thought Lilith was going to kill him, and that was the way he wanted to go, unafraid and on his feet, like a warrior, the way Shadowhunters did. His death song would always be this, jokes and snidiness and pretend arrogance, and that look in his eye that said, "I'm better than you." Simon just hadn't realized it before. In other words, Jace uses sarcasm and jokes to deflect from his true feelings. Not that I have any experience with that. Jace also is like, "Oh yeah, I heard you try to have some kids and they all died." And Lilith's like, "Be careful." Jace is like, "Or what? You'll kill me? Go ahead." And then she doesn't. Not the fearlessness of just being like, "Yeah, go on, kill me." Straight to the mother of all demons' face. But yeah, she doesn't kill him, and he's like, "Oh wait, you said I'm the counterweight. I'm the only thing tethering Sebastian. I could jump off this building right now and kill myself, and then you wouldn't be able to summon Sebastian." Which, by the way, is rule number 3 of the Tessa Gray Self-Defense Handbook. He truly is her great-great-great-grandson. And she's like, "No, you won't jump, because then I'll hurt her." And she drags Clary forward because Clary was stupid and didn't listen to Jace and didn't run away like he told her to. And so now Lilith is pissed off and she has Clary, so she's like, "I'm going to torture her to madness and force you to watch." And she gets ready to whip Clary, but Simon, who was like on the brink of passing out in the corner, uses his last bit of energy to run in front of Clary and take the blow instead. And a mark of Cain, baby! Lilith goes sevenfold and then explodes. Battle over. They all go to leave, but then Alec and Izzy show up like, "What the fuck are you guys doing here?" Izzy's like, why didn't any of you call us for help? And Simon's like, there was no time, and I didn't know Jason Clary were in danger, and also I didn't want to drag you into my problems. And Izzy goes, drag me into your problems? You. And then she just flings herself at Simon and gives him a big hug, but she's also swearing at him under her breath, and it's like really cute. So everyone, all reunited, are like, okay, let's head back. But Jace is being dramatic and edgy because he hurt Clary. And so he hates himself, even though he was literally possessed and had no control over his body. Everyone's like, fine, sulk if you want to sulk. And they go into the elevator. But then last minute, Alex smirks and pushes Clary out of the elevator just as the doors are closing. So then Jace and Clary are forced to talk. Alec, my baby, you may have some flaws, but who doesn't? I love ya. Meanwhile, Maya and Jordan finished fighting off the rest of the cultists. They talk. Jordan has a chance to apologize as much as one can apologize with just a simple conversation. And they do have some chemistry and tension and end up spontaneously kissing. And then Jordan's like, Maya, why did you just kiss me? And Maya's like, I don't know. I don't know, okay? I don't know. I'm worried about our friends though, so let's go. And I will discuss this stuff more in the next book. Just put a big old pin in it, okay? So Jason Clary talk on the rooftop, and he's all self-pitying, like, I don't deserve to be with everyone else and getting a ratsies and healing and hugs after what I did. I don't deserve you. And Clary's like, what about what I deserve? And this is random, but they're always talking about, remember what I told you before? About blah, 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 blah. Like, I swear this happens at least 10 times in this conversation. It's not a Shadowhunters book until one of them mentions something that another one of them said in a previous book, and they remember the exact wording 100% perfectly, or they like quote the Bible or a book or a poem, and you're like, yeah, totally. Word. Anyway, Clary's like, I love you. It wasn't you who was hurting me. You were possessed. And he's like, I was trying to fight it the whole time and it really sucked, but like I hate myself, blah, blah, blah. And Clary says that Jace is a good person and it doesn't matter if he believes it or not because she has enough faith in him for the both of them, which is sweet. Too bad that their love is the thing that set off this entire second trilogy and is the reason that a lot of people are going to die. Anyway, the Clave shows up and Clary's like, my mom's gonna be so worried because remember, all of this is happening the night of the engagement party. They just disappeared without saying anything. And Jay says that he'll stay with Sebastian's body to make sure it doesn't randomly disappear like last time, and also so he can sulk some more. And Clary says she'll be right back. Just give her 5 minutes. Down in the lobby of the building, everyone's meeting up and hugs and kisses, all of that. Magnus and Alec are cute. Clary runs to Jocelyn. Simon talks with Luke and confesses how he bit someone and feels horrible about it. And Luke comforts him and says that he's also done some bad stuff in the past, like killing all those werewolf leaders. And Simon didn't kill who he bit, so it's okay. And Luke even says that he could talk to Simon's mom if he wants her to help her understand the whole vampire thing. And Simon's like, no, actually, I'm gonna go home tonight. Which, put a pin in that. Jace up on the roof is still being dramatic, and he's like, how am I gonna face Jocelyn? I told her I'd never hurt her daughter, but I did. I thought I was nothing like Valentine, but then a little voice in his head says, aren't you? You never knew your mother or father. You gave your heart to Valentine as a child. And Jace is like, what's happening? And he hears in his head, did you think that you were free because Lilith is gone? I am awake now, and her blood in my veins compels you. Come here. And Jace, against his will, walks to Sebastian's glass coffin and cuts his palm and lets his blood drip in. And Sebastian's eyes open and he slices his hand and grabs Jace's. And the ritual is complete. Jace is feeling panicked, but then suddenly feels peaceful. And Sebastian's voice in his head says, we are one now, little brother, you and I. We are one. End of book 4. I love it. Oh my god. You know what? You know what? If I were directing this movie, I would play exit music for a film by Radiohead. We are one. You know, like listen. You have to lean into the 2000s of this series. You got to lean into the camp and the humor. Put me in, coach. I could do it. I don't trust anybody to do a Shadowhunters adaptation. All right, we're finally done the cursed book, guys. How we feeling? I just wanted to say, as my conclusion to City of Fallen Angels, friendly reminder, children. The entirety of the second half of the Mortal Instruments was able to happen because Clary decided to bring Jace back to life because she loved him. And then they decided to keep that fact a secret. Every time someone dies in the next 2 books, I want you to know it was indirectly Clary's fault. Unintentionally, but still. And even though I think bringing Jace back to life was a bad decision on Clary's part, I still would have been fine with the decision if it had been framed in more of a negative way. And the narrative did point out that Clary is actually pretty morally gray, like how Cassandra Clare did with Julian. But because the book is just like, oh, Clary is such a good person and such a hero, it just makes her decision feel more annoying.
And like, I like morally gray characters, but I need to know that the author knows that they're morally gray, you know? Like, I don't need a big shining box that says this character is morally gray, but like, let their actions have some consequences. Let the other characters get upset with them. Let them acknowledge that they have some flaws and aren't perfect. Add some nuance.
And Clary does some not just morally gray, but straight up evil things in the next book, at least in my opinion. Like, she's a fucking villain. And everyone pretending like she's this pure-hearted hero makes me dislike her more than I would if she was honest with herself and admitted that she was not a good person. Also, some other final thoughts. I do find City of Fallen Angels pretty slow as a whole, but it is pretty satisfying when all the pieces click together because all these characters are dealing with their own thing. You know, there were several scenes talking about these abandoned babies scattered in the background, and then the tracksuit guys, and Camille, and the band lady, and Jace's dreams, and then they all tie back to Lilith, which is pretty cool. And that cliffhanger, diabolical. You guys don't know what it was like to have to wait for book 5, okay? Actually, maybe some of you guys do. Like, I know some of you guys were like original fans back in the day too, but you know, it doesn't feel as slow when it's me telling you guys the plot because I can just skip over all the details of like the battles and stuff and just tell you what happens. Sometimes Cassandra Clare, she just talks a lot. Like, she just like get to the point. Thanks for watching. Time to work on book 5.